I just wanted to do one final video. I don't want to sound like I'm talking down to anyone, but I just want to be as clear as possible that a node is where a leaf used to be. Like this is the node. Like here, you can see that a stem and a leaf is right here. That's one node. A stem and a leaf right here. That's one node. This right here, that's a node. There used to be a leaf right here. Oops, don't fall over. This right here is a node. There's a node, there's a node, there's a node. So there's lots of nodes on these giant wet sticks. But yes, these are the nodes. You're not gonna, if you chop this node off, then there's no new growth that's gonna come from it. You have to cut between the nodes, and that's where the new growth is going to come. So anyways, like I say, I would do 2 nodes. I know the examples that I've shown you, I've done 1 node, but I would do 2 nodes just to be on the safe side, and you're going to get plenty of nodes that you can play around with and share with everybody and show off that you have these giant nodes. So anyway, all right, let me take some pictures. Okay, so here we have a little Monstera wet stick. As you can see, he has sprouted. He's a little bunched up, but not as deformed as they normally come out for a first leaf. So he still thinks he's big. So he came out with fenestrations and he's bunched up a little bit because he's trying to be big, but obviously he's small. But anyways, what I want to show you is that once again, actually this was thrown in upside down. This was actually put in some soil, but it was thrown in upside down or somehow got pushed around upside down. These are actually the aerial roots that went in there with it. Obviously they have dried out and they're not doing anything for this little Monstera. He is subsisting solely on the energy that's in this little chunk of wet stick. This one little node is what's in there. But anyways, he actually had to grow upside down. You can see that he came out on top. That's the way, that's the direction that he should have grown in. But since he was planted like this, he grew around and made it work. So anyway, yeah, so I just wanted to show you this one. He obviously, there's no roots, and even if there were roots, they wouldn't have helped him because they're on top. So anyways, there's no roots, no aerial roots on this wet stick. He is growing his own little root. I see a little tiny root right there. I know that's not going to focus, but there is a little tiny root that he's trying to grow right now. But no, he was able to sprout without any assistance, just from the energy that's in that one little node for this giant wet stick. So yeah, it's another example. You do not need aerial roots. I am not shipping these with aerial roots. They're just going to rot out. They're going to end up exactly like this, just rotted out. There's no leaves to support, and they're not soil roots. They're aerial roots. So anyways, I am not shipping any with that. But yeah, there is enough energy inside of this wet stick, inside of this one little node, to push out a beautiful little new leaf. Okay, so here's my final example and the most extreme example. I'm not telling you guys to do this. I just want to illustrate and show that you absolutely do not need aerial roots. So anyways, this actually does have aerial roots on this. That's what these are, and that's what this big thing is right here. They're all dried out. This entire thing is dried out. This was cut. We were moving some things back and forth, and there was just this section that was just in the way. So we cut this, yeah, I guess you would call it wet stick, off of some Monstera that were growing up in the pathway, and it just threw it over there in the compost pile. Now, as you can see, this is totally dried out. This has not been in sphagnum. This has not been in water. This has not been in soil. This has not been in leca. This has been in nothing. It's just been sitting in a pile. I just happened to see it the other day. It's been sitting in a pile. It's totally dehydrated. As you can see, it is very, very, very dehydrated. there's nothing that is supporting this whatsoever, right? Well, this must be dead, right? There's no life left in this, correct? No, look what we have here. It's still trying to grow. It still is using the energy that's in it. There's no aerial roots from it. It hasn't even grown its own roots. You can see there's a new point of growth. Yeah, so there's lots of energy in these people. I just want to stress that there's lots of energy that's in this. This thing is most likely older than you are, so there's a lot of energy in these nodes, in these huge wet sticks. And so I am sending mine out without aerial roots. All of these are going to be cut off. They're a little bit. I know you can't tell through the camera, and you probably have never seen one this big, but there's usually a soft outer covering that's kind of like worm-like, and inside of that soft covering is something hard, and that's what when I cut them, it's going to feel like there's something hard sticking out, and you're going to what is this hard thing sticking out right here? Because I'm just going to cut all of these off, and there'll be little hard node things. Don't pay any attention to those because they're going to rot off anyway. So don't pay any attention to those. When this new growth, I'm actually gonna do this as an experiment so you can actually see it. We'll do a follow-up video, but I'm gonna take this whole thing, put it in some soil, and you will see that this new growth will grow its own roots. So right now, this was like maybe 6 months ago, maybe even longer than that we cut this out, because this is totally dehydrated. This just looks like a piece of dead wood, but it is still heavy. You can hear that. It is still heavy, and sorry about that plant. He's like, don't knock me around like that. But anyways, I'm going to put him into some soil, and we will see that he can grow his own root system. He can sustain himself, but he's drawing on the energy that's in this, and this has had no support whatsoever, no water, no soil, no sphagnum, no leca, no nothing, and still it's able to push out some new growth. And so that new growth will push out its own roots, and I will show you that. Come back to the channel in a couple of months, and you will see that it has its own little system that is growing. All right, thanks. Okay, this was one that I just found on the ground. Again, this was just cut down from a tree. As you can see, it is very dehydrated, that part of the stem. But anyway, first of all, look how pretty this leaf is. Isn't that pretty, the coloring? That's so gorgeous. All right, anyway, as you can see, there are no roots. There is nothing going on. This was not placed in water. This was not placed in soil. I just cut these little edges off myself. It was actually a long piece of wood that was in the compost heap, but looky here. I was like, wow, that looks so much better than the ones I try to grow on purpose. But anyways, he sprouted. But one thing I noticed, he didn't sprout himself a little root. So anyways, we'll plant him, and we'll do a follow-up on him and see how he's doing in a little bit. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to include the golden pothos, the jade pothos, and the giant syngonium wet sticks in with the Monstera wet sticks, so you can grow them all together. You can have your little giant jungle going on, and it will be fun to just watch all of them grow together. So anyways, I think that would be a nice little, multi-pack for you to have fun with. One thing I noticed is that even though they don't have any roots or anything, they all have new growth. If you look at, this is the golden pothos. Obviously this was cut as one straight line, but look, you see how it's like elevated a little bit? It's some new growth that's coming. See? Isn't that hilarious? Even though it's not even planted or anything like that. The syngonium, of course, you've already seen that it has the new growth that's coming. And even on the giant jade, if you look closely, there's little white little bud of new growth. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Yeah. So even though there's literally nothing going on these wet sticks, there is new growth already started on these.